Well, I was about to say I think I'm alive, and I'm pretty sure we're back, but
I was trying to do the
2001: Space Odyssey. Yeah, I figured that's what it was.
Yeah.
Remember that whole grand final thing for the Great Australian Bake Off? Remember that?
A long time ago.
In a television galaxy far, far away. This is the washing up.
It is.
We are alive. Me, especially. I'm alive.
And it's not from what you went into hospital with, but the treatment you got after it. I mean, doctors treating you like a voodoo doll. It was like Sweary Canary had just come in to be a doctor.
Yeah, I was just getting poked and prodded. So I am still Chris.
I'm still Christy. And my last name's Stanford. I never ever say that, but I should because it's a really good last name.
It is a good last name, you're right, and your chain of hotels is wonderful.
It is.
But no, we are sorry for being late.
I'm not.
I actually do have a doctor's certificate to say why I'm late. We sort of mentioned it on the Twitter, not going into details, but I ended up being hospitalised for 5 days in the lead up to Christmas and my birthday.
Should have been 6 days, but, they sent you home from emergency on that first night.
Yeah, they did. So I did emergency twice and was admitted to hospital. And so, yeah, so thank you to those people who did actually send good wishes. That was really, really good. And it's the most frustrating part about it, legitimately, was that we were supposed to be recording the grand finale recap the night I went into hospital.
Hey, you're not the one who had to come home to accusing pets. I had one of our cats, Somni, who loves you very dearly, walking around the house looking at me like I'd offed you for 4 days, just looking at me like, where is he, mother? What have you done with him?
The lovely part about being in hospital was every night I got a recap of, the cats think I've killed you. The cats are sure I've killed you. And then there was some of my belongings that were being used, some that I don't really use, we'll be using them for trivia prizes, and so Christy's picking them up to take them, and now they're thinking that she's stealing my stuff.
It was just crappy Loot Crate stuff, but that didn't mean anything to the cats. I was apparently just stealing your shit.
So yeah, that's why we're late with the recap. We got to watch the grand final. We got to plan everything out.
Yeah.
And all those plans are still going ahead. There's a lot of planning happening. But, yeah, we then got delayed through hospitalisation and Christmas, and birthdays and that old chestnut.
God damn it. Why did he have to have Jesus born?
Well, it's more my birthday. I was more worried about it.
Oh, yeah,
but anyway.
Christophermas,
yes. So let's get on to this grand final recap, shall we? Because, we made fun of the cooling rack consistently for when they were slightly late, but we're really late.
We're early for next season.
They got their we're on time for next season. We're really ahead for next season.
This is the prequel.
They got their interviews done the night of the grand final and got it out straight away.
I know, it was awesome.
It was brilliant.
Because you got this instant recap.
Yeah.
This instant feedback. It was brilliant. Thank you, Tegan and Paul. That was awesome.
It was great to get those interviews out, and it was good to just hear everybody immediately after the fact, and that was great. That was great to hear, and Antonio's use of a whistle on that interview it was just fantastic. He had his own sound effects board.
I'm sure they're going to put him in Trolls 2, the ultimate troll.
So let's get on to this grand final, shall we? Because it's been long enough, and we need to really get into it. Now, I sort of subtitled the grand final. It's the grand final, or Mel Buttle claims the leftovers.
But wouldn't you?
Of course I would.
If I was Mel Buttle swanning around the tent, it's like, that's mine. That's mine too.
What I enjoyed about it too was in the earlier weeks they'd been slightly subtle about just sort of gradually grabbing it. By the last week, it's the grand final, and Mel's just walking around going, like where she turned around to Liv and went, where do all the extras go? And just pointed directly at her mouth.
And Liv's like, in
there. It's like, yes, you've learned. So Mel just living out my dream and just walking around the tent. Oh, look, that didn't quite... Well, I'll have to...
Take that off your hands.
I'll have to get that off the bench because it's cluttering up the bench.
Yes, let me help you clean.
So let's get into it, shall we? So the opera cake for the first part.
I'm sorry, it's got to be opera cake. Opera cake. Opera. Okay, yes, the opera cake.
No, you were right the first time. My highlight of the opera cake was just Antonio where he turns around to the camera and goes, when you're making an opera. So
Indeed, when in my past life, when I was in year 3, we studied Puccini.
when we started making opera cakes.
Yes, I was directing them by age 6, so it's from my Italian family.
It was just wonderful to see him shorthand the words opera cake to when you're making an opera. It was wonderful. It's like the seasoned professional that we all know Antonio realistically is.
It goes like this, obviously, to Antonio's family. You're born, you get involved in Mensa, then you go on to making operas, and then you become a baking fucking genius.
And then you basically end up with your own company where you hire Maggie Beer.
Exactly.
And we got to see a little bit of that too later on when Maggie came up and was just sort of openly gushing over him again, like she was looking for a pay rise.
Exactly.
Already.
It's like, I've done very good at greeting on the doors. Do you think I can become a cashier?
Antonio, may I have a broader role within the corporation? And Antonio's, quiet, Maggie. I'm baking for the grand final.
While directing an opera.
And I loved Antonio had a really subtle line that sort of got missed, where they're eating the batter while he's cooking it, and he just looks at him and went, fair enough, have some raw egg. I was like, this is the grand final. It's supposed to be stressful. And it sort of came across in this one. I don't think any of them really looked like they were stressed at any point in time. And that line was just symptomatic of the whole thing.
They were just in the zone, weren't they? But not in the focused, like they were focused, but not stress focused. It was just this beautiful serenity.
Yeah, how's the serenity?
It
Indeed.
was like Bonnie Doon.
They were heading to Bonnie Doon. Exactly. And
they were on the Antonio train heading to Bonnie Doon.
Toot toot. And I think the most realistic line, just in our experience that we've had through this whole crazy adventure, the line that I think is the most accurate thing I've ever heard is Matt turning around to Olivia and saying that she is ridiculously humble.
She's so humble.
She is so humble.
You need to watch Popstar.
If you haven't seen Popstar, you need to watch that. Except the difference is she actually is humble. You just got this look on her face whenever they're saying how great she is at baking and stuff. She's like, no, not really. It's just it's like luck. It's luck, which it's not. And
no,
there's no chance. It's just luck. She's that good.
And the tenacity as well. I mean, that's the thing, is that achievement in life isn't about raw talent. It's about having tenacity to stick at something, and that's something I've never had. So anyone I see it in, I really admire. And Olivia's got, like, the way she just went, I forgot the butter. I'm going to make this again. And just doing it. Like, no falling into tears like I would do. I'd be like fetal position on the floor just going, why am I existing?
And for me, the moment she decided to just very calmly just went, I'm going to do this again.
Yes.
That's the moment she won.
Yeah.
And I know there were 2 other challenges and anything could have happened, but the moment that, after she talks about the fact that she's, not really sure what she's doing and she's not really thinking properly, and then very calmly thinks clearly, concisely, and just goes, this isn't working, I'm going to do this again, and just does it with a minimum of fuss. Yeah. She was in the right headspace. She had it won.
I have to say, though, this is all done in 2020 hindsight, because when I was watching this and I had no idea what was going on, like, I have fake nails and I would have been biting those bitches down to, like, nothing.
However, I do want to, at this moment in time, point out, what did I say to you when she went, I'm baking this again? And you went, oh, no, I'm worried about Liv.
Because they're showing her having a catastrophe.
My response was,
they do that in the final to build tension.
In the grand final, if in the normal episode, if someone has a catastrophe early, they're going home. In the grand final, if someone has a minor catastrophe early, they're probably bouncing back from it. And I just had this confidence that she was going to bounce back from it, because it was the way that she did it. If she sort of panicked and gone, I'll bake it again, maybe, maybe not, then no.
Yeah.
Because she was just so calm and just went, no, I'm doing this again.
Yeah, and I get that. It's more like, I've been wanting Liv to win because I had my spidey senses tingling
and we
early on in the piece. And I was so worried that, how can I put it? I don't believe in my own instincts, so I just didn't want to jinx.
Which you should, because you picked her.
Yeah, and I didn't want to jinx myself.
You picked her. And then when we had to make our prediction before the grand final, we both predicted, and that was with our podcast, if you listen back to our podcast with the Cooling Rack guys, where we've been avoiding making a final prediction, and they sort of went, so who's your tip?
It's like, I don't want to jinx it.
I don't want to jinx it. But we both said we really, any of the three could have won, any of the three would have deserved to win, but we really hoped that Liv was going to win. So we were sort of, happy with that. Now, Monica Monica went differently to normal. Normally it's very big and over the top. I think she decided to go very calm.
And sedate.
As an idea of, let's just don't make mistakes, let's be basic, let's be simple, but the problem with that is it's got to be 100% right. You're not going to fall apart.
No.
But you're not going to stand out, and you've just got to do everything perfectly, and if there's a slight flaw in something, it's going to be noticeable.
To be honest, if Monica was where she was at now, like at this final, about 3 weeks ago, she would have been in with a chance, because it's about that whole,
Progression.
It's about that risk-taking. Like you see it in people's journeys. They take big risks. Some pay off, some don't. And then they have this moment where, they get that realisation that, okay, I need to be sedate. And then they pull back too much, or they go over the top too much until they find that balance. She just needed a little bit more time.
Yeah, it happened a couple of weeks too late for her, because the thing was she went really big the whole way through and then pared it back for the final. If 3 weeks from the end, if she'd pared it back, then by the grand final she probably would have had that balance right again and could have hit the Having said that, it looked good, and she's amazing.
Talented. Who the shit goes, okay, I'm going to bake we're jumping to the end.
We'll come back to that,
but who goes, I'm going to bake an ode to Italy and going to create the map of it in isomalt? Like,
I'm going to do 3 layers of Italy.
Just 3 layers of this and buttercream.
Exactly.
Why did I make her sound like, what's her face in?
Why did you make her sound like Julia Child?
Yeah.
Save the law! Don't throw it away. I can't stress this enough. And just before we move off the opera cake, Mel, the good folks at GPAC, at the Geelong Performing Arts Centre, probably went off in their lounge rooms about the opera in Geelong comment. Now, let's remember, people, when thinking suburban opera, think GPAC.
Indeed. GPAC for all your operatic stardom needs.
If you want to give us some free tickets to GPAC, I mean, look, we live in Sydney, but still, if you want to give us free tickets at anything at GPAC, because we're helping.
I kind of get the impression, though, that Geelong is like the equivalent of the kind of area we live in, though. It's nice and suburban, but a bit rough around the edges.
Oh, yeah.
But we've got a great arts centre too.
What an arts centre.
What an arts centre. Yeah. Seatown represent.
Woo! Represent. Anyway, moving on. The technical.
Yes, the tech.
I had one big complaint about the technical.
It wasn't in your face?
No, the big complaint about the technical was this was their last chance to go with an ice cream cake. I wanted a layered ice cream cake with sprinkles. Is that too much to ask?
No, not at all, because that's what we enjoyed for your birthday.
I had a Freddo cake.
It was beautiful. It was... He's old, folks. He's old enough to enjoy Freddo cake. Anyway, moving on. Yes, so it could have been ice cream cake, but we know who would have won that, because Maggie B would have been like, ooh, what's this? Ooh, it's nitrous oxide, or whatever the fuck it is. Ooh, I didn't know you could make, ooh, giggly ice cream with nitrous oxide.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I know what you mean, but I just...
We'll go with the nitrous oxide.
Let's go with your nitrous oxide ice cream.
Yeah.
It was an interesting technical, and Monica actually said it. I'm surprised with 2 Italians in the shed, they went with an Italian technical.
I happen to think, though, that this stuff is picked out way before.
Well, I think so too.
So, like it could have been Liesl and Olivia in there, and they'd still be doing...
The 2 Germans doing it.
The 2 Germans doing Italiano. That's my So... They're in there. I think it's all planned out before, so it's not really done as a way to skew it. And quite frankly, I mean, you might be Italian, but you've obviously live in Australia. It's not like you're...
Except for the fact that if you saw it, when they announced what the technical was, Liv had this look on her face like, what? And the 2 Italians were just going, yes, I love this. And Antonio was beaming. I've never seen anyone smile. They go, this is your challenge. He was like a kid sitting a HSC, which is ironic because he hasn't done that yet. But it was like a kid sitting a HSC
This is
exam.
your future, Antonio.
It's your future, Antonio. And opening the paper and seeing the question you've studied for on the page. And it's just this look on your face of, yeah.
But look at him, though, like, kind of like, I've always wanted to bake this. Like, Mel and Claire's, paying out on him for being a baking nerd was perfect, because it is like...
It was.
Who the fuck goes, I've always wanted to bake one of those.
And his His level of like the technicality of his description though. Just when everyone's talking about, oh, it's fun making with lard and stuff like that, and there's Antonio then on camera, detailed, explaining like a very seasoned professional exactly what role the lard plays in how that pastry comes out.
But I love that. This is one thing I like about Bake Off is you learn a lot. Like I couldn't bake for shit. Like my baking range is pancakes, and they're not that great. But you learn a lot. Like, you know, from bloody Great British Bake Off, you know, we know that with your Swiss roll, you need to...
Everyone knows about Swiss rolls, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we learn all those little tips, so...
But Antonio, and the thing was, for me, Antonio's description there just belies the fact that kid's a superstar.
Yeah.
And it really sort of gives us our last chance to do our theme, because we haven't done our theme yet. Right, you ready? Okay. There we go. So that was... There's our underground background music.
Yeah, you just keep talking. I'm doing the background.
So there it is. Our last introduction to the last segment for this season, obviously, of Antonio Boy Genius. And we've sort of gone backwards. We've done the theme afterwards. But
fuck it.
Yeah, exactly. We're changing it up. We're mixing it up, people. But no.
Bitches, this is the grand final. We could have done that at the very end.
His explanation was incredible. And to be fair, his technical looked incredible. It just looked incredible.
Yep.
And like Matt Moran's looked at it, you saw the look on Matt's face was, that's perfect.
Yep.
That's absolutely perfect. Mm-hmm. So, what I will say, though, is Liv blackmailing a teenager. Hey, Antonio, come over here and make this for us and I won't tell your mum your secrets. I've never been more proud.
Yes. Don't tell her about my stash of baking magazines.
Don't tell her that I've been buying all the baking magazines. Don't do it. Don't do it.
She banned me from it because I wouldn't do my homework.
Now, for me...
Baking instead.
For me personally, the technical was far too fiddly to be bothered with. I frequently look at these and go, oh, I'd love to try that. I'd love to try that. They've gone for the finale and they're stretching out the pastry. I'm just looking at it going, no. Looks delicious, but no. I'm with Mel where she said, you know, my stock standard version of this would be get the phyllo out of the packet. Yes. Place it on the bench top.
Let it thaw.
That's how I'd do it. I was like, make your own... No,
just go down.
I have a pasta machine and no.
I'll head down to like bloody Burns Bay Road and grab myself a nice little pastry from one of the Italian bakeries down
there. Do it that way instead. It's far easier for me. And it's interesting as well. We were talking about the help, and we're like, oh, they haven't helped on the technicals though. They've been helping. Then they are helping each other out on the technical in terms of how to stretch out, which again for me shows how laid back everyone in that. Yeah. In that was. It was...
Mind you, like if I saw someone struggling with something that I knew how to do, I'd be over there going, oh, for fuck's sake, just do it this way. But that was really nice about it.
It was lovely. They weren't being nasty at all.
No.
Now, again, Antonio's looked amazing. Monica mentioned that hers didn't come out the way that she wanted them to. They looked a lot like a samosa. But the flavour apparently was really good. And the flavour was
Italian samosa, hey?
An Italian samosa. Yeah, exactly. Liv's looked good, but apparently lacked the filling. So the fact that, first of all, Antonio had clearly run away with the technical, there wasn't a question. But in my mind, because of the way that first opera had come out with Liv clearly killing it, the fact that her and Monica basically sort of split second meant that as long as there was no absolute disaster, Liv was probably in the box seat to win it.
Well, technically at that point it was between her and Antonio, because if Antonio smashed it out of the park, you know what I mean? Like if he came in with like something phenomenal and, you know, better than what Liv produced in the last, he could have won that. But he didn't.
I think she put herself in the best possible spot.
Oh yeah, no, she was
the thing.
She was ready to launch.
Now the showstopper was, you know, make a bunch of stuff. This time actually they didn't do what they did in the UK and all that, and make a big picnic. They each had to make their layered cakes, which was interesting. We're not going to go through step by step on that. We'll sort of get a quick recap of each of it. Your prize, by the way, is the front cover of the magazine, which is part of a dying industry. And that's not slagging off Delicious. It's more talking about the
paper product,
the paper print in Australia and how that's working. Now, this was the moment I was so pleased that we were on lifestyle food and not on Channel 9.
Why is that?
Because I felt that if it was Channel 9, the showstopper would have been using only the sponsor's ingredients, make something for the front window of a Michelle's patisserie. And then the most sales in that front window of a Michelle's patisserie wins the whole lot.
Yes, and not only that, but past bakers are going to come and help you. And
pick your teams.
Pick your teams.
And Shane Jacobson would have been making really sort of ochre references in the front window.
Yeah, Scott Cam would be building them a few things.
Scotty Cam's building them the shelves in the front of the shelves.
And Shayna Blaze is coming around to comment on the...
Shayna's putting lighting over the top of it.
Here's something from my range. I love you, Shayna. Here's something from my range that I think will really set off the bakes.
And Darren Palmer walks in and goes, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just a designer.
And the ghost of Peter Harvey comes in and goes, Peter Harvey, Michelle's patisserie.
Peter Harvey, baking. Anyway, so...
We didn't just drop acid?
No, we didn't. And I get to do my favourite part of every episode.
Yes.
Sweary Canary's jumper game on point. Right? It was so good to see everybody. And I loved her transformation from Sweary Canary inside the shed to what I'm referring to as the tipsy paparazzi. How close was she going to get that camera in Jeremy's face?
I'm sure she was just doing a dental shot. He's going, my dentist wants me to go and get x-ray. She goes, no, here, I'll do it for you.
I got it. Jeremy's eating with a camera in his face. It was beautiful to see. It was two of our favourite things, mashing it up together.
Oh, and I'm sure at the end I heard James go, champion!
Yeah, I think it was James. Someone said, champion!
I like to think it was James. Oh, and I could tell it was Liesl yelling out, you got this, Mon, through the window. Like SeaWorld.
And the other thing was there was a GIF going around before the grand final, which was Diana looking pained with Liesl through the window. And again, the context finally came into focus with it's them just sort of...
It did look groupie-ish. It's kind of like the Beatles.
It looked like Diana was following the Beatles around and had spotted them. Antonio! Clawing through the window at him. There was an element to it, by the way, of these are the animals on display at SeaWorld.
Yes. I was just thinking
which was great to see. Now,
you just want Maggie P to come out with a little pocket of fish.
Antonio has to jump through a cake ring.
And then she throws in a little sardine. It would be like a little Dr. Utka.
Everyone's balancing on a bunt tin.
Give them a round of applause.
Everybody, they've got like profiteroles balancing on their noses. That would be spectacular. Yes. We've got the spin-off. The Great Australian Circus tent. But when they rolled in the barrels with for the umbrellas, all I could think about was it was the booze supply for the day.
You could just tell Liv and Monica, not Antonio, he's going to his Ribena.
Yeah, Antonio's got the Ribena, but they're wheeling this barrel in, and Liv baking away, looking outside at the barrel, going, "Someone tap that? Anyone put a tap? Just give us a tap for that. That'd be great." Noel's bucket hat.
Oh, it was spectacular.
Was just beautiful.
Oh, I'm sure Gardening Australia's got their next host lined up.
That's your blooming lot for the week. The packages were really well done. Now, I've mentioned this on Twitter. I've mentioned this to Olivia, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll be able to break this down a bit more. I was mesmerised by her painting that red door. I don't know why. All I could think of was that they just sort of made her do it over and over again. Do it again! Do it again!
No, just like Noel will now have a career in Gardening Australia. Liv's probably going to get the next what's it called, design show. She'll be the next Shayna Blaze. If she didn't win this, it would have been, hi, I'm going to show you how to paint a door red.
Builds and cakes.
Builds and cakes.
Builds and cakes. That'd be fantastic.
Sounds like beatboxing. Builds and cakes.
Builds and cakes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Monica's family is just adorable.
Oh, I know.
Watching them, and it looked like they were making Mexican, which is quite close to my heart. I love Mexican food. And Antonio, well, it was all about the nonna.
I know.
And a side note, I once worked at the school that, I'm not going to say which school it is, but I once worked at the school that Antonio goes to, and all I could think of when he's doing that package was just flashbacks for me of working there. And I'm like looking at where he's walking through going, oh, I know where that is. I know where that is.
But how cool is his nonna? Like, I'm thinking, they're going to get rid of the Marlboro man and bring in the Marlboro nonna.
Yeah, the way that, again, you can't advertise cigarettes and then there's Nonna going, as long as he's smoking the right brand. It was beautiful.
I'm sure that happens. Mensa smoking. Opera.
Liv's call in her showstopper. Liv's call back to the tinned pineapple.
Oh, beautiful. That was just like, bitches, I know what a fresh one is. I know how to use it.
Look at this. It's pineapple.
Bitches.
It's pineapple.
Yeah.
Monica's sort of ode to Italy. Now, all I could think of was being a stereotypical person. No, I was thinking a car crash on the top. I was thinking football match-fixing scandal in the middle. And we don't talk about the south of Italy.
I thought it was just going to be Berlusconi,
No, it wasn't the terracotta one. No, we weren't thinking the terracotta one. But the bottom, the south... We don't talk about the south. Don't talk about the south. You know it's good for you. You might sleep with the fishes. So we don't talk about the south, but I'm sure the southern tier was wonderful and lovely and great and spectacular and
completely above board
and all above
Nothing
board.
to see here.
Yeah, no, it was dog racing. Anyway, now just to briefly be serious on the finale, we love you, Antonio. We really love you, Antonio. Toot. But for me, he was sunk the moment he said, "Remember my chocolate brownie."
Yeah, I mean, I can see his thought process thinking, okay, I'm going to take something, but, I did, and I'm going to make it even better. But it should have been something that you was shit at, i.e. tinned pineapple, and then make it better.
Now, the problem for me was that, it was
looked fucking delicious. I wanted to shove my face into it all.
It looked amazing, but the problem, I think, for me was that it was something that he'd done. Yeah. And I understood the logic behind it, make it bigger and better, but you could do something new. And I think that probably hurt him a little bit. But having said that, it looked
phenomenal.
Incredible. It looked amazing.
And those raspberries that weren't raspberries, but were raspberries.
That's genius.
Boy genius.
So, yes, exactly. So I think if he hadn't have done that brownie earlier, then he probably would have been well and truly in that with the what he did for the grand final. But I think it was because it was a callback. That's kind of, probably the big problem.
I get where he was coming from, not quite there. And again, possibly just, a little bit more time.
Now, it was just really good to see everybody. It was great to see everybody again. And if you haven't seen it...
Everybody in the House of Bakes.
It was.
Everybody in the House of Bakes.
Whoa.
Everybody. Anyway.
Whoa. One love, one bake. Everybody
in the House of
These
Bakes.
17 references are far too far away for my liking.
Because it's all right.
It was good to see everyone again. And if you haven't seen it, Fiona's stop-motion cake fight with Liesl outside of the shed is one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life.
I know. When I was, after Bake Off, when I was Googling, two girls, cream face, that's not what I was expecting, but it was a pleasant surprise.
As you do. Maggie saved for me her line of the series for last.
Which was?
It tingles on the tongue. When she was describing Liv's bake. And also, can I point out with Monica's children, there's not enough children playfully beating each other up on television.
No, these days, the children are all
the older boy's trying to deliver this heartfelt message about mum, and the other just bang, bang.
But what I like is the slight pause at the end, and he's just gone, bang.
Yeah. It was like, wait for the camera. Bang!
It's like, I'm sure they'll edit this out.
It just endeared them more. It was cute. Yeah. It was wonderful.
Oh, and the little girl who I'm sure was one of Antonio's relatives, just when she was watching, that was just so adorable.
The whole thing was adorable, and it followed the trend of the whole series, which was everything was lovely and wonderful and nice.
And how amazingly gorgeous is Antonio's mum? What a stunner.
Oh, they're just you can't say anything bad about anybody. They're all amazing.
I know, Liv's husband, Hubba. Nice work scoring that one, dolls.
We love you, Richard, although some apparently more than others. Now, Liv's reaction was priceless to winning. It was shock and a slight stagger, which I thought was perfect. Our reaction, and I'm not ashamed to say this, was tears.
I cried.
There were tears.
And squealed.
There were tears. There was a big squeal and lots of tears. Mm-hmm. Not ashamed of it. And I think that the line of the end of the episode, which was perfect, was unbelievable. Unbelievable. So that sort of sums up the actual grand finale itself. And I think it's been just a wonderful series in general. Forget, even if, didn't matter who won. it's been a brilliant series.
Definitely. It's been the highlight of the past, 4 months in what has been a bloody tragic year.
Exactly. And
horribly tragic year.
We'll keep moving past that at the moment, but
Highlight of 2016.
Yeah, I'd go
some
with that.
people would say that's not hard to do, but quite frankly, this is a fucking brilliant show.
Yeah, and it's been our pleasure to recap the Cooling Rack, which has been outstanding, and also to recap Bake Off and to speak to these bakers who are wonderful people and are just so giving of their time and giving of themselves, really, to put yourself out there and to sort of wade into that social media world is not an easy thing to do.
Particularly in Australia, which can be quite vicious.
And they've handled it with just such grace and class and just humour.
Yeah.
And they've been amazing. And hopefully for us, this is going to keep going.
Yeah.
We've got plans to continue through.
Talk about shit.
You saw, the episode that went up, our interview with Lisa, which was the last thing that went up before this.
That's so awesome.
Which was, Lisa was
love you,
wonderful.
Lisa.
I highly recommend that you listen to that. There were technical issues through that one, but take the technical issues out and just listen to the conversation. It was brilliant.
And she was so patient during all those tech issues.
Yeah.
We've had flawless,
everything's been flawless in terms of the records. Flawless.
We woke up like this.
Exactly. And everything's been flawless through recording. And that one episode, we had all the errors, I think, that we've been waiting for happen in the one episode. And she was just so patient and understanding and brilliant and funny with it.
I'm sure, if it happened during Swear a Canary, it would have just been Divaville. It would have been like, fuck yes, I'm out of here. I'm not working with this kind of shit. I'm all about professionalism, you fuckers.
Exactly. No, it's not. We love you, Fee. We love you, Fee. So, we're planning to keep recording. This is not going to stop. Unfortunately for some of you. We're not stopping.
I don't give a shit. I do this in my own
we don't care. We don't care if there's 3 of you listening. We're going to keep going.
Yeah.
Till
there's none.
Because we really loved, and even then, we'll just keep listening.
Keep going.
We've had an absolute blast doing this series. Now, our planning does involve hopefully speaking to a few more of the bakers between now and the start of lifestyle broadcasting, the British Bake Off that has happened last year. We're going to do that one week by week, and we've got some plans for that as well, so that's all coming up. And there are other plans afoot which we can't go into just yet, but we're excited.
I'm excited. I'm
excited.
Big Kev,
you're like Big Kev.
But not as dead.
No, you're far more alive. Far more alive, which is most pleasing. Again, thank you to
It's only 4 days left of 2016 or so.
Thank you to everyone who has given us some great feedback on these. We genuinely appreciate it.
Yeah, and there's that dude. I'm terrible with names. But there's that one guy on Twitter who's actually really nice and stuff that I put up and that you put up and stuff. Thank you. Chris is looking at that, so I'm going to pad until we can find his name. Brandon, yes, Brandon Black, you are awesome, thank you.
You are wonderful. And all the bakers, thank you very much for your time and just thank you for giving us so much to work with. And thank you again to Paul and Tegan for the Cooling Rack and a wonderful series of that too.
I know, I've loved every minute of it, and I hope they do it again next year. And I hope Foxtel goes, you know what, fuck it, let's put them on.
I think they should. I really think they should. I think that's beyond time. And I think the thing we've seen with this series of Bake Off is the following is strong enough. And I think that people would follow it. So
yeah, because fans of Bake Off are fucking awesome. We all rock. We're polite, we're considerate, we know shit about baking, and we're funny as fuck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And with that in mind,
yes,
I think we might leave you all there. Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. Again, I've been Chris.
I've been Christy.
And we will hopefully catch you all later.
Happy New Year!
Bye.